Long before the United Nations came into existence, our ancients prophesied that a house of Mica would appear on the eastern shore of the land, where the sun rises. Leaders of various nations would gather in the house of Mica to resolve the problems which threaten the world. According to our ancient prophecy, we must find a pathway into the house of Mica. We are given only 4 chances to accomplish this mission. If we fail, we have been instructed to put the matter behind us in the direction of the setting sun. If we succeed, we have been instructed to tell the world of the coming of the purification day. This is our final attempt. Thank you for helping us with this part of our mission. Our prophecy is interwoven into our history. We will tell you how we came into the existence and how we came to have this mission.
When we, the survivors of the last world, emerged upon this land from below, Great Spirit and his assistants were waiting to greet us. We were divided into groups with leaders. The leaders were asked to select 1 ear of corn from those placed before them. This was a test of wisdom. Most of the leaders greedily chose the longest and largest ears, but one leader purposely waited to be last and chose the smallest ear. This leaders group was named Hopi, which means to be peaceful and to obey and have faith in Great Spirit's instructions. We were warned never to distort any of Great Spirit's teachings for our own influence or power, or in any way to corrupt the Hopi way of life, or we would no longer be worthy of our name. Great Spirit, whom we call Masao, then gave us our religion, language, and culture. He inscribed the divine laws by which we live on a set of stone tablets. These tablets contain the instructions and prophecies which we are to follow when we are faced with the great dangers and temptations of the future.
South told us that each continent there would be people who must uphold his teaching. If any of these people were destroyed or otherwise prevented from following his ways, the balance of the world would be upset, and great natural disasters would end the world. Masao told us to be caretakers of this land.
He said the new land must first be put in order, and he instructed us to migrate to its farthest corners. At each place where we stopped, we were asked to set up a shrine and to plant the spiritual seed which would take root in all directions. We were endowed with certain powers to bless the shrines and villages in order to maintain the balance between man and nature. We were given mysterious powers of self-protection so that those who defied the divine laws and disturbed our sacred shrines and villages would suffer great misfortune. As we began our migrations, Great Spirit reminded us of the destruction of our last world as the consequences for not living by his divine laws. Great Spirit warned us to guard our stone tablets and to follow our life plan with care and caution. After many years, we completed our migrations and returned to the spiritual center of the earth where we sought Masao. When we found him, we asked him where he lived, and he replied, Sipo Raibi, which means place where the earth was made solid. We asked permission to live there with him. He did not answer directly, for he saw evil within us. "It's up to you," he said. "I have nothing here. My life is simple. All I have is my planting stick, my seeds, a jug of water, and my loincloth. If you are willing to live as I do and follow the life plan which I have given you, you may live here with me and care for the land. Then you will have a long and fruitful life." We then asked him if he would be our leader, thinking this would assure us a peaceful life. But again he looked into our hearts and saw that we still had selfish desires, so he replied, "No, the one who led you here will be your leader, for I am the first and I shall be the last." He warned us never to divide the land or sell it. He warned us never to use the riches of our Mother Earth to harm others, but only to benefit all. He foretold future events which Hopi remember to this day. He warned that if we disobeyed him, one day there would be battlefields because of greedy and ambitious leaders. We made a vow with Great Spirit which obligated us to follow his teachings. He gave us this land to care for through our ceremonies. He wrote the plan of our life on a rock so that we would always be reminded of his instructions. Ojai village was settled. Migrating people asked to be admitted to the village. The priests always considered their requests and made their decisions based on the people's character and wisdom. Those who showed signs of boastfulness were turned away because their prayers and ceremonies would be insincere. Only humble and good people were admitted. In time, many Hopi villages were established on other mesas, each with their own governing bodies, ceremonial cycles, and religious order. Each paid respect to Mother Earth and Father Sun, Great Spirit, and all things through ceremonials. Our prayer for rain was the most important in order for the crops to grow and produce an abundance of food. Our people depended on this prayer for our livelihood because we live in a desert. Rains came naturally because of the oneness in our hearts. We were happy, for we were united. We prospered on our farms. Wild animals and birds were plentiful for food. Medicine for our illnesses, much rarer then, was provided by nature. We were dedicated to our spiritual duties. Our minds and bodies were filled with wisdom and truth and an understanding of the balance of earth and nature and life. We prayed for the health and happiness of all the peoples of the earth. Time passed on, people passed on, and the prophecies of things to come were passed from mouth to mouth. Our stone tablets and rock writings were often reviewed by our elders. Fearfully, we waited as we retold the prophecy that one day another race of people would arrive in our midst and claim the land as their own. We called these people Bahanas. We were told they would try to change our pattern of life. They would use force to try to trick us into using weapons, but we were told never to raise our hands against another nation because we would be brought to our knees from which we might not ever be able to rise. We were told they would use a sweet tongue, tempting us with promises of help and easy modern ways. The day arrived when Bahana was at our door. We suffered many hardships in our attempts to obey Great Spirit's teachings. Many of us were not strong enough to resist the temptations of an easier life. We were torn by division and conflict, setting Hopi against Hopi. Finally, when it became impossible to continue our life plan in Ojai, those of us who wished to preserve our culture smoked and prayed and reviewed our stone tablets. We saw that we must leave our mother village, so we started a new village named Hotevillla. But our newfound peace had a short life, for it was not long before Bahana was at the edge of our new village, alternately threatening us and offering us help. The struggle to carry on our spiritual duties continued as we were forced to send our children to Bahana schools or be jailed. Today, our ceremonial cycle is greatly endangered because our children are not at home learning their spiritual duties from their mothers and fathers in the Hopi way. Our children are far away, learning instead to watch television, drink liquor, and take drugs. They are no longer interested in the Hopi way because it is a hard life. Instead, they prefer the easy, modern way. We do not wish to offend those who truly wish to help us, but who ignorantly forced us to accept ways that are contrary to our religious beliefs. You might ask how accepting modern conveniences interferes with our spiritual duties. We will give you one small example. When we can turn to someone else's government for water, our prayers for rain will no longer need to be sincere, for our lives will not depend on it. Our ceremonial dance for rain will become an empty form, a meaningless custom, bringing instead of rain simply curious tourists. When our elders die, there will be no one left to carry on our ceremonial cycle. When our Hopi way of life vanishes from this continent, and there is no one left whose spiritual duty it is to preserve the balance of man and nature, the last stage of this world will begin. Great Spirit gave us many signs to recognize the coming of Purification Day. For years we puzzled over how there could be spider webs in the sky, or how women could take on masculine characteristics and wear men's clothing, or what a house of mica could be. We dreaded the great gourd full of ashes, which could destroy all of mankind. There would be a time, we were told, when man would oppose the divine laws of the Creator. When man selfishly exploits the land and drains our Mother Earth of her natural resources, ungratefully neglecting to return as much as we extract, nature will reflect this and refuse to sustain our life. She will send us drought and famine. When we create weapons and become destructive to each other and other living things, nature will reflect this too, and send strange changes in our weather patterns, like volcanic eruptions, devastating fires and windstorms, and earthquakes. If we fail to maintain our ceremonial cycle, we as Aboriginal humans will become extinct. This will trigger the beginning of the end, and the rest of mankind will follow in our path. If we can succeed in preserving our ceremonial cycle, we will not perish, and the balance of man and nature will be restored. If we can preserve this balance, the world will flourish once again. Our Father is the sun. With his warmth, all things are created. We are his children. He tries to protect us from harm, but his heart is sad to see us leaving his protecting arms and destroying ourselves. From the breast of our Mother Earth we receive our nourishment, but she is becoming too ill to give us pure food and water. What shall we do? Shall we cure our mother's ills and lift our Father's heart? Or shall we forsake them and leave them in sadness to wither away? When Great Spirit told us of this house of mica and instructed us to find our pathway here, he told us a true Bahana brother would come to us to help us sustain our culture and restore order. We are forever looking eastward to the rising sun for our true Bahana brother. May Great Spirit guide you and send you on the right path. Thank you.